Alright, well, welcome back to Close Enough Garage. If you watched the video about putting your bike up on the stand, you'll understand why I've got Sugar with me today. It's just one of them days. It's been happening since the wreck, and it's probably going to keep happening. I'll get the surgery someday, I guess. So, today what we're going to go over is how to replace rear shocks and or the rear shock bushings on pretty much any bike that's got dual rear shocks. That's one of these on each side of the bike. I know there are some designs that differ, but almost every single dual rear shock bike out there is going to have one of two major configurations. You'll have one like this where there's a stud the shocks slide onto and a bolt that retains them. That's top and bottom on bikes like this. And then you'll have other ones that have almost kind of like a clevis on the bottom, where the bottom of the shock will go over the mount and then it'll bolt through both of those legs to secure them. But aside from that, there's really not any differences, and they're really not too bad at all to do. First step is going to be to jack the bike up. After that, there's really not much to it. Just about anybody with a jack and some basic tools can get this job done. We're going to go ahead and break these free. These are 12 millimeter on this side, or on this bike, sorry. They're 12 on both sides. Shorter bolt went on the bottom. We're gonna put that up there. And the longer bolt went up top. Now, might have to pry. They might just come right off, but just kind of pull the shock straight off. Like I said, there is really not much to this. It's actually surprising how little holds these shocks onto your bike. There's one, you got one on the other side. The reason I'm not going to do them both at the same time, however, is because the shocks are the same length. I'm just taking what's on there off, putting bushings in, and putting them back on. So we're not changing ride height, we're not changing swing arm angle or anything else like that. So I'll just leave the other shock on as a placeholder, get this side done, and come back and do the other one the exact same way. The difference in jobs is going to be, for those of you that are actually replacing your shock, it's going to be a good idea to get the exact same shock that was on your bike. Sometimes they are pricey. For this one in particular, we're looking at about $350 for OEM matched shocks. But my shocks are good. It's just the bushings that are wallered out, and I will show you that before we start changing them. Back to what I was talking about, though, is if you're replacing the whole unit, you're obviously just going to take these off and slide your new shocks right on. If they've got the bushings and everything else and they're meant for your bike, then that's the way you're going to do it. If you're going to go cheap, which I don't recommend, but I understand some people have that situation, and you're going to get a universal type shock, then what you're going to do is you're going to measure the studs that these bushings go on. In this case, these are 625 thousandths, which would be 5/8. And make sure that the shock eye has that measurement. You go just a little bit shorter. You can lower your bike a little bit. I like to keep around stock height, especially because my Giardini exhaust sits really low on this bike. I did try lowering it a while back, and every time I took a right turn, the exhaust drug, I didn't like it. So I just went back to the stock shocks, stiffened them up a little bit, and we're just going to run some new bushings in. I'll show you that in just one moment here. So, as I said, we've got the original shock here. The shock's not too bad on this bike, so we're going to go ahead and keep it, but the bushings are bad. If we focus, there you go. You can see how that's not exactly round. It's more egg-shaped than anything. Same thing with the top. Now, I went ahead and hunted a unicorn and was able to find these OEM shock bushings online. And it's a real blessing, because these things for these VTXs, for whatever reason, they've got a bastard-sized mounting and all that. They're really hard to find. But these kind of greenish ones are a little bit better than the old gray style. These cost about $2.50 each. And basically what we're going to do is I've got these couple of picks here. Focus. Ah, you bastard. It's not focusing. You know what a pick looks like. I got a flathead screwdriver. And phone's got ADHD. It's not focusing on nothing. So anyway, what we're going to do with those, I'm going to take both hands for this job and go ahead and just start prying, awkward here, right around the edge of that. And once you get the material freed up from the metal, you can go ahead and use your flathead screwdriver and just kind of push it out of there. Now, I don't recommend doing it right over your leg. You're going to stab yourself. Kind of hold it out here, put it in a vise, whatever you got to do to stay safe. Okay, so good solution when you don't have a camera stand or any of that is to bring your 8-year-old daughter out. She's never done this, so she's going to do her best with filming, and I'm sure she'll do a wonderful job, huh, baby?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so as I said, you're going to just kind of work your pick around, start getting this popped up a little bit. Once again, I'm not doing this directly over my leg because I don't want any more holes in it. That happens every single time. So, now we'll take the flathead, now that's pushed through, and start shoving the old bushing out of there. Now, sometimes they've been really stuck, and I've had to use a old socket that was the same diameter as the outside of the bushing, and a rubber mallet, and went ahead and pounded it out that way, just kind of like doing a, oh, that was my finger. Just kind of like doing a U-joint. So, we have the old wallered out bushing there. We'll set that out of the way. We'll take out one of these new ones here. Now, one thing that sounds counterintuitive, but it is the right advice, is you're not going to lubricate the new bushings. Believe it or not, a rubber bushing wearing out is doing its job. You lubricate the inside of this, and then you invite room for a lot of premature wear. You're going to end up getting dirt and grime and road dirt and all that collecting in there, and it's going to sandpaper everything. It's going to end up knocking the shine off your mounting shafts, and it's going to end up wearing these bushings out prematurely again. This bike only has 14,000 miles on it. These shouldn't be this ready to go yet, in my opinion and my experience. Now, to put them in, do the same thing but opposite. Go ahead, kind of pinch it down, wiggle it in there. Now, we'll take a dead blow hammer, put it right through. Now, you want to make sure that you're seated fairly center there, which we are. We've got a little bit of the bushing sticking out top and bottom. So, I'm going to go ahead, repeat the step on this, and then we will slide it back on the same way that it came off. It is a direct fit for that. Probably end up tapping it with the dead blow hammer again, but those should go right on pretty easily. Next step then, and as you can see, I've got bottom and top. One thing I didn't mention is you are going to want to utilize a dead blow hammer or a rubber mallet for this job, just because you don't want to be taking steel and beating the shit out of your rings or anything else on there. You want to kind of keep everything nice. Always use a dead blow where aesthetics matter, or where damage is going to matter, because they don't damage stuff. You know, of course, you throw it through a window, it's going to break the window, but I think you understand my point. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and line up. Top slid right on. That is awesome. And bottom is lined up. I can feel that with my fingers. So we're going to take the dead blow and just start tapping a little top, little bottom. Come around here because I'm almost seated up top, but not on the bottom. And we're going to go ahead and give it a little bit harder wax. Now we're seated there. Does that look like it's up top? It's all the way on?
I think so.
And we'll give it a couple more taps because we love using hammers around here, huh?
Yeah.
Alright, so long one went up top. And just run that in finger tight. Long one went in the bottom. And same thing. Now do not forget the washer. That is what retains it around the bushing and keeps your shocks on your bike. So we got those on. I am almost positive there is a factory torque spec for these. If you are that anal that you're following the torque specs, then go ahead and do it to your heart's content. Me, this is another thing on Close Enough Garage. We're going to get close enough. We're going to go German spec, which is guten tight. I'm going to put that thing on good and damn tight. So, bottom, little muscle. Top, tight, little muscle. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do this exact same job, but on the other side of the bike, and that will be how you go ahead and do your shock bushings. Now, as I said, if you're going to replace the whole shock, it's the same job, but without taking the bushings out. I had the opposite need. As you can see, this one was so worn out, it collapsed on taking it out. So those were definitely time to replace. You'll be able to tell because when you look at the bolt, the new bushing, it's nice and centered. With the old bushings, it was showing bushing on top, and the bolt and the mount were moved to the bottom of that. Also, when I'd go out for a ride and I'd enter a turn at speed, I could kind of feel the back of the bike just kind of give a little tip in like that, like it was settling into something. That told me something in the rear end was loose. If you need shock replacement, it's going to feel like riding on a waterbed. Every bump you hit, the bike's going to, have your initial bump where it should settle like that, but it's going to be kind of more floaty as you're going. Start by setting your shocks a little bit stiffer. That's what those holes on the bottom of the collar are for. If that doesn't help improve the ride or bring them back around, or you notice any fluid or anything else leaking around it, your shocks are blown and should be replaced. Alright, so now you know how to both replace the shocks on your dual rear shock bike as well as replace shock bushings. That's actually going to be a common method and a common route to replacing most rubber bushings on the planet. So if you have them anywhere else, every bike's a little different. It's about the same job. Even the little guys that hold your side covers on and stuff like that, it's pretty similar to replace them. You just kind of find a way to squish them down, pop them out, push the new ones right in. I can't wait for us to have a nice rain-free day and a pain-free day for me to be able to go out, test these out, and see how much smoother it feels with the new rubber in the back. Thank you guys very much for tuning in once again. Go ahead, of course, like, subscribe, share, tell all your friends about me, all that stuff. Hopefully I've helped somebody else today.